All right, this is the Park Commission meeting of July 30th, 2025. We are in the lower meeting room at the Ritter Building. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and it will be broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access and uploaded to the YouTube channel. All right, I can go through this spiel, I don't think I have to, but the agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. All right, so I've opened that. Is there any public or board comments? Glenn, do you have anything?
I do not.
Great, you're here. Yeah, now can call you by name because you're the only one here. Anita or Chris, Angela or Chris Ruth?
No, nothing for me.
All right, why don't we hit an update by you, Chris? Chris Ruth, that is.
All right, I don't have a whole lot, but both important things. First one is the bids for the resurfacing of the Wallace Courts are due in on Monday. The original contractor who thought he was on state contract was missing some paperwork, so he had to put it out to bid. He is able to bid it, but just couldn't go straight to him. The other big one is the weed treatment for Lake Whalum at the beach is on conservation's agenda for their August, I want to say it's 19th meeting, whatever that week is, it's on for that. If you are available, Karen, it may not hurt to have a Parks member available.
Sure.
But those are my two big updates. One other one is the insurance company approved the claim at Wallace for the damage and everything's getting replaced.
Some of us might not know. So what was it, about a month ago, Chris?
Yeah, about that.
About a month ago, a vehicle drove through the fence at the Wallace Park Playground and into our toddler structure. And kindly of them, they decided to spend 90 minutes freeing their car and then putting back together the equipment by leaning things on there. Fortunately, a resident was suspicious of this whole thing and was like, this doesn't look right, and had immediately actually posted pictures on Facebook, and then we had reached out to Chris. So it was substantial enough that the toddler structure has actually been removed from the playground. Did you remove the mulch as well, Chris, and replace it, or just put new stuff down?
Yeah, we dug out the mulch that was there and replaced it because there was some broken glass in the car, so we don't know how much was there. We just replaced it out of caution.
Yeah. And then they'll be working with the insurance company to replace that structure. Mm-hmm. Did the spinny thing also get fixed? I think I remember.
Yep, the spinny thing and the other two-person swing there got replaced.
Okay. So other than the toddler structure, we seem to be back to functioning equipment at Wallace.
Yeah, the fence still needs some work, but it's standing, it's fine.
Okay.
Is that the extent of what we're doing, is just insurance claim and that's it? Are we, I don't know if there's further things that we should take action on? If it's worth taking action on, like we know who did it, I believe.
Yeah, the person who did it came in and met with the police, and I'm sure our insurance will go after theirs and the whole thing. It seems like it was just an accident. I don't think it's anything that needs to be done over there. I mean, the car jumped to the concrete curb and everything, so.
Okay.
Can't imagine they do it again.
Yeah, just
I
guess from just making sure it was just an accident and not, it wasn't something else that was
intentional,
you know, or you know, poor choice type scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yep. All right, great. Thank you, Chris. Angela?
All right, so I'll just go in with everything from the beach for now. So we've been really busy at the beach. I would say just check-ins and things like that have been pretty steady. I did spend one Saturday there myself just to kind of see the process, and I realized there was a lot of things we could probably be doing differently, which I don't think you realize until you're actually the one checking people in and doing it. Not that it's a big deal, but one of them for me is like the card reading thing. It's great to have it there, but you can't just slide the card and it charges it. It's basically like you have to type in their address and all this information, and if you have a line of people, it's just not convenient. So I'm going to be looking at options. Obviously, that's not going to be a this year thing, but I definitely think it's worth looking at other options just to maybe make it more of a streamlined process when people come in with a card. Other than that, swim lessons are good, and it's actually worked out really well having the afternoon ones. They're definitely not as busy as the morning session is, but I think it's a good secondary option for parents. I thought we'd maybe have a little bit more people registering for that, but it kind of seems more like we'll fill the morning session and then all the backflow ends up in the afternoon. But the morning sessions did sell out for sessions 1, 2, and 3. We didn't run a Saturday just because staffing. We've kind of had an issue with that. Next year moving forward, I think we could probably use one additional lifeguard. But I know it's tough with staffing wise this year. So I definitely thought we'd be covered with that, but we have had some issues just making sure we're fully staffed at the beach. And it ended up, I think it's this Sunday, we actually have to close just because we don't have enough staff. So that's definitely an issue I've been running into.
I think it was just, wasn't it like, not this past weekend, the weekend before the 20th? Didn't they close on the 20th?
They closed like the 21st, but they also have to close this Sunday.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do, 'cause it's
No, that's
not
fine.
like I can just fill in. It's more of a issue of not having someone that's certified being there. So that's a little bit of an issue. Just in terms of memberships and stuff, like I said, that was a slow thing. But we've been getting a good amount of people doing day passes, seasonal passes, so I don't think that's slow. I think numbers-wise, we may be doing a little better just when we did add the afternoon session in. And we did have session 1. If you remember, we could only run one class at a time, so that did kind of slow us down a little bit. So the next session is going to start 8:04 to 8:15. The likelihood of the closing date, I would say, would probably be Saturday the 23rd, just from college students and everyone going back to school.
Okay.
Other than that, beach-wise, we have one more program. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough registrations this week to run one, so we do have enough for next week to run it. That's even me offering, like a promo code for people to type in and try to get a discount. But just been tough to have people come in, so we do have enough to run next week, but that's actually the last youth program I have running this summer. And then just in terms of fall, I have a lot of things that I'm planning. I just don't have set dates or anything like that yet. But we're going to be doing more of the arts nights with the Painted Goat. We did the resin with them. We did the arts. We're going to do it a little differently, where I think we're going to do like a paint night here and there, and then like a cleaning night. So it's going to be like a few hours, a one-time thing. And then we'll also have the STEM program we've had coming before. It's different. It's not like a every week thing. It's just they put on like basically a show for, dry ice or something like that, and they'll tell you how everything's done. We've also had Good Pickin' Farms. I've been talking to them about doing more stuff with us. What we've done with them before was like a Books with Bunnies or a program like that. So they'll bring in bunnies and books and have the kids read to them. So I have that started. The pickleball stuff's not going to start probably, I believe, until late October. They want to stay outside. I think that will be pushed up depending on the weather. But I have been talking to them. We're probably going to run it similar than we have in the past, but we'll actually probably have more dates available to run it. I think the only issue is just making sure we have someone as technically an instructor for the beginners one. The intermediate one's really just kind of run itself, especially now that we have like better access to the building.
Okay.
I think that's it for me for now.
Great. I have a list from you, a list for you. I was just looking for it, and of course, if I delete it, I'm going to be kicking myself. It was the, it's for the Cultural Council grants that I think are due in September, October. I'll try to get that over to you.
Okay.
There may be some companies in there that may be a good replacement for the vendor that has decided not to come back to town. There were a couple of names that had popped up, so I'm like, oh no, I definitely want to write this down. So I'll get that over. I'll try to get that over to you this week for you to look at. Hopefully I didn't delete it because it took me like 2.5 hours to go through and find them.
Oh, no.
So
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
great. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Angela, one question on the beach closure, like for beach closures in terms of like lifeguard shortage and so forth. Is it, I don't know regulations around it, but is it feasible at all to run like per diem lifeguards? Because there's lifeguards that like in town that work other places, and there's lifeguards that work at the Groton Country Club pool, and
Yeah.
Like, is it
yeah, I
possible to
don't
run,
think
like, just thinking ahead, future years or whatever, if you run into that sort of situation, like an on-call list that we could sort of have them on payroll?
Yeah.
Like, or
No,
have them set
I
up to
think
be
that's
on payroll kind of deal? Like, just if there's a shortage, like, hey, can you pick up a, can you pick up a shift on Sunday? Kind of.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because it seems that, we sent out the email for 2 weeks of staffing and it usually sends it 2 weeks prior, but then, like 1 or 2 times it'll be like something comes up. And it's not really so much of an issue of, I would say, specific staffing. It's also that not having staff go over 40 hours, especially like now that we are doing the morning and the afternoon lessons. One of my suggestions to Jared was maybe like see if anyone would be interested in like kind of doing the morning, then going home for lunch, coming back in, and that wasn't really a very popular thing. But I said maybe if they go home for a few hours, come back in the afternoon. But I think that's mostly the problem is just making sure people are certified. I think that's a good idea. But we've definitely run into issues of multiple days this year of just being
Well,
slightly short.
it's hard too, right? Because, I mean, it's better this year than it was last year, but when you have like siblings that are working at the beach and then there's a family vacation, they're all leaving.
Right,
They're all going on
right.
vacation together, so that makes it hard too. I went down and spent some time with Jared a few weeks ago, and he's done a great job this year. Everything seemed to be well organized, and everybody's had good things to say. So, yeah. Do you have anything?
Yeah, it's a hard job to come into, and I think it's running a little bit differently with us adding the afternoon sessions, and then just him being new to the position. I think he's doing a great job. I just think there's like things that I didn't realize because I never specifically worked the front desk area at the beach house that was probably sucking up time and energy that like they might not have.
Yeah.
So things like that, I'd like to try to look into better options for them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you have anything for her, Anita? Or
No,
for Chris?
no.
All right, awesome. Thank you for both of you.
Yeah, thank you both.
Angela, I don't think we necessarily need you both to stay. Certainly not Angela. The skate park folks thought they'd be here about 7:15. They're not here yet, so I was gonna skip down. We can start talking about Marshall while we wait for them to come. So if you guys want to participate in that discussion, great. So in that packet that I gave you is the remaining, Glad, do you want to grab one of these so you can follow along? It's the remaining money from our ARPA, our capital projects, all that sort of stuff that's left.
Good.
So we have approximately $13,000 left in ARPA funds. That's a use it or lose it situation, and I don't mean use it or lose it back to the town, I mean use it or lose it back to the government. So we want to try to use that, but our grand total remaining for the process that we had started a year or so ago is $97,000. So Chris and I had a conversation with Tom Doolittle and Ray Dunnitz. One of the questions I asked was, what would the $13,000 buy us if we decided we just wanted to expend that part? And the basic answer was, not much. So, we need to make a decision. We definitely need to make a decision tonight on whether or not we want to continue moving forward and expending the remaining $97,000, which would get us the remainder of,
3/4?
say that again?
What did they say, 3/4 drawn? What's it?
Was it 60 or 75%?
I thought it was 3/4.
Maybe it's 3/4.
We were at 60%.
So I think it was 3/4.
No, you mean we were at 60% already, or we were?
No, we were at 60%
Okay, so it could
just
be-
before town meeting.
Okay, so that's what it certainly, again, I don't even know where my notes are at this point. So yeah, you're right, Chris, so you're right. And that would get us in a position to be able to bring at least a smaller project forward, whether it be sometime soon or in the future. We would have to go out and have another cost estimate done. So we'd want to keep that in mind. So what is everybody's thoughts on moving forward and expending the remainder of the money that we have allocated from ARPA and from the capital projects that we had received money from?
I'll go first. I think we should spend this money down. It is completing the design to whatever degree. It's not money wasted because that design will live until the town is ready to actually fund it and construct it. So it's not money wasted. Not being in the more recent conversations with Ray and Tom, I'm not sure what they think is viable in terms of what project we could bring forward. I'm trying to remember from our last conversations at our June meeting, in terms of whether we felt it would be better to come back to town meeting with a smaller project, meaning that, phase 1 plus project that we were looking at. I think it's worth trying to do that. I think that, and I regret that my grandchild happened to be born. I don't regret that she was born, but I regret that the timing of it. She's beautiful, I love her, but the timing did not work and I was not able to attend town meeting. And I just regret that we didn't really have a chance to really give anybody information about that alternative, that phase 1 plus alternative. And that might have made a difference. So I think that we owe it to the town to put that back before them. So if 97,000 left in design and prep funds is enough, then I say we should go for that.
Okay. What is your?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly of the opinion of continuing to move forward with the designs. I'm still torn on presenting just a, it's a separate discussion, but still torn on presenting just a smaller project. I could just, in the long run, it's only going to cost more money if we're only doing part. If we come back and try and do a second part later, I don't think phase 1 addresses the major issues over there. It fixes what needs to be fixed to take care of phase 2, but it doesn't address a lot of the actual issues with that park just as a standalone. As it is now, it's really the phase 2 that fixes the issues of.
For people who've kind of forgotten, can you give details?
Yeah, so phase 2 is the parking on Chestnut Street. It's fixing the drainage issues related to the 90-foot diamond that continues to flood. It's going to properly have both that field and the softball field in a condition that will minimize maintenance, I think, a little bit more, with proper materials. So I think there's a restroom in that regard. So I think that from that standpoint, I'm kind of torn on kind of where we're at with the actual projects. But either way, the real question right now is the 97,000, and I think my opinion would be to move forward, continue to spend that down, and get those drawings as far along as we can. As Anita said, those are going to live until we. I think the design itself. I don't see the design changing. I don't think it's going to be something that people are going to say, "Oh, this is a terrible design. They're going to totally change the whole thing." So I think it's the actual design itself is the right design for Marshall Park. Mm-hmm. And if that's continuing to use that money to get those drawings further along in the process, I think it's the wise decision for us to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we should go that direction and expend that. So I'll reach back out to Ray and Tom with you on email, say let's move forward and get this piece done.
You need a motion on that?
I don't know if we do because we had already
You've
agreed
allocated
to,
the money.
Yeah, so I don't think that we do. And I'm hoping Glenn will chime in on some thoughts on the next piece, which is timing of what we want to do here. So, we all know, but so the public's aware, we brought this project forward in May at annual town meeting. We brought the project we presented it initially as a full project. The discussion started happening, and then for whatever reason, just the way that the meeting was moderated, we just didn't get all the questions in that we would have wanted to, and the opportunity to present a smaller project just sort of flew on by. So we are in a situation now where we have many, many choices, including going back at special town meeting in November, either presenting a full project or a partial project, doing the same thing at annual town meeting in May, full or partial project, or saying, you know what, we want to wait and let all of the financial woes of the town sort themselves out over the next few months, because there is action on that front. There's a tri-board group has been formed. It's the select board, the finance committee, and the school committee to sort of start figuring out the financial things within the town. So if some of the concern, which I know was part of some of the no votes, which was, you know, we're not financially in a spot where they were comfortable saying yes to this, until that stuff's sorted out, we can wait and, you know, take this up again, you know, next summer and bring something forward at special town meeting a year from now. I'm not sure what everybody's,
What's our timeline needing to make that? Just like when,
so I would.
are we October, are we September, like where are
I
we?
think we'd need to know by September.
Like our
Glenn, when
September-
does the warrant article, warrants open?
I'm not
in
sure.
the- So the warrants, I wanna say they usually open in sometime in September, so we'd have to, you know by then. But here's the thing, and I had this conversation with Anna in recent days. Public outreach on this, we had done very good, and I can't say that we had public meetings at the end and they just weren't well attended. It wasn't for lack of effort. We put ads in the newspaper, we put it all out there so it was there. I'm not sure what the timeline is in terms of public outreaches though. I feel like when I think about it, November feels like tomorrow
Yeah.
in terms of
that's what-
public
yeah,
outreach. But I'm very concerned that we're gonna be going down the same path that we did this year in going in at town meeting where there was a 2.5 on the table, where we're coming forward with a big project, the Bill Reeves is coming forward with a big project, that the timing of that is gonna get sucked into that financial piece of the town as well. And the amount of time that we as volunteers have to give to this project to even get it there, we need to feel like we're gonna have some, even if it's fleeting chance of success in order to sort of light that fire back under me to wanna do it. Just because it's such a time commitment to do all of this. If we're not sure, I'd rather wait. And if we are sure and the commission's behind whatever, bringing something forward in November, we can go for it. It's just gonna be a lot of work to execute.
What's the deadline to spend the ARPA funds?
The end of the year,
Okay.
the end of the year. Glenn, if I could, you had to have put a lot of thought into this whole.
Yeah, I haven't recently, but for sure, yeah.
So if you were a resident right now, and maybe we need to poll the residents, maybe it's time to do another survey. We have good response from our survey. As a resident of town who went to town meeting, who sat through that, who had, our info sessions, you're knowledgeable on all of this, would you be in favor of the commission coming back as soon as November with a smaller project? Or do you think that it would be something that we should wait until annual or even one more after that?
Yeah, isn't that $1 million question? But yeah, to your point about the
13.
the public outreach, I do think those are critical. And I forget, I've watched so many meetings recently, but I think it may have been the Municipal Building Design Committee. But they acknowledge how important they are because it's well known, like the one I attended. I think there was 4 or 5, maybe 6 people there. But that shouldn't be focused on. The fact that PAC is here and putting it on YouTube and whatnot, that's really the true value of those community outreach aspects. It not only gets the information out there, but just shows that you are in fact, doing your due diligence. So that they are very important. I wouldn't get overly concerned about the lack of physical attendance because it's long term that the impact is very important. As far as the timing, yeah, going back, being new to town, I just had my 2-year anniversary. Doing the due diligence, coming out here prior to committing to moving to the community, I did drive through and see Marshall Park and was impressed. And you could see the vision of that being a beautiful location for town with it being rehabbed. But at that point, I had no idea of the analogy I've heard several times, which I think is helpful, is all of the elephants, the untethered elephants in the room that Lunenburg is confronting, and I could, go through them, but everyone's familiar with the big ones. But, if you just, even the, so the timing for budget-wise and the uncertainty and the fact that there's no major plan in place to kind of tether these and address these elements, put them in line and address, really articulate to people how we are going to do this. This is our plan, how to tether these, elephants. We're gonna put them in this line, and this is how we're gonna pay for them. I think that type of information will go a long way, because I agree there's a ton of support out there. Like, you hear it, and anyone that's kind of involved and articulates their thoughts and concerns are like, they're kind of heartbroken about the Marshall Park project, which would include myself, which I was a no. I was a no, and going through watching your meetings and going through the information set, I was kind of like a soft yes for phase one. But then to your point, the problems with phase one, it's kind of you're building a nice little foundation of the stuff you need later for phase two, where if phase two was phase one, be like, oh yeah, absolutely, let's get phase one done. But it's not, it's not real attractive as phase one. So I would still completely defer to you guys. It's obviously your charge, and to be clear, I am speaking as an individual.
Yeah.
I do not represent anyone other than myself in this opinion. But there are such huge financial problems or issues that are confronting, with the school funding, and then the Ritter Town Hall, TC Passios, Turkey Hill. Anyone that's a water taker, like the 2,500 residents that are water takers, they're talking about regulations that are requiring them to address the PFAS and PFOS, which their discussion for those 2,500 people ranges from like an unacceptable plan of $30 million up to $70+ million. So I mean, those people are confronting that with water alone, never mind the funding for schools and whatnot. And and one of the underlying problems with that is, and then like stormwater is another one. They're going to pull that out as like a stormwater utility fee, which could be anywhere for the average home payer, taxpayer, like $100. They're still discussing it, but that could be yet another $100 a year per, just throwing out a number. So, the state's not appropriately funding the schools. The state is not, appropriately funding the towns through whether it's Chapter 70, because that's typically, where they get the money to address the transportation issues. So even though the state is proudly saying they haven't raised our taxes, in fact, they've put more money back in your taxpayer, into your paycheck, they're forcing towns to raise their own taxes. So, I mean, that in a nutshell is what's in my brain and what bothers me when we have these, a really nice project that I would absolutely like to see and that everybody in the community would benefit from, but we need a better handle on this big picture. So that's why I would lean to, I wouldn't like try to compel you or urge you, but that's the thought process in my brain, is I need to know that, say all these elephants are all tethered, and in that next 5 years, yes, your average taxpayer bill will raise by $1,200 or whatever it is. It's just like the voters need to know what that information is and make an informed decision. You can't tether one elephant and then say, oh yeah, by the way, there's 6 other elephants that now we have to. It's like, we just have to know everything, as ugly as the information is, put it out to the residents, and they do an informed vote, and then we move on.
Great, thank you. So, yeah,
Can I just jump in quickly with a comment to Glenn's? I agree with so much of what you say, Glenn. I just want to counter with one point. I do feel that the phase one does have a lot of merit to it.
Oh, it
Granted,
absolutely
it does
does.
not improve the parking on Chestnut
Yeah.
Street, but it does add 75 parking spaces that are accessible from Mass Ave, which is a huge
Well,
improvement.
100, right? 90?
I don't think it's quite that
90.
much.
It's like 90.
And, it also provides
Shelter for camps.
Well, it provides so much more for for user groups that have never had a chance to fully use Mercer Park before. It provides a handicapped accessible playground. It provides, the basketball court again. It provides pickleball courts. It provides the pavilion. It provides bathrooms. So, I do feel that it's more than just let's prepare for phase 2. So I just wanted to put that
That's a fair
on
point.
record.
Yeah, I think there's plenty there in phase 1.
There's more fun stuff in phase 1 too.
Yeah, there's more fun stuff in
it's-
phase 1, but
for
it
lack
does
of
do
a better
all the
word.
water storm, all the water maintenance and so that we need to complete the whole project. I just look at it as a bigger picture of, you can come in and do phase 1 and phase 2 is gonna cost that much more because we're bringing everything back in a second time. Kinda, that's my concern.
So, and I agree, and I think the benefits of phase 1, I think they're tremendous. I think it's much needed in this town. I mean, I spent a week and a half last week on the Cape. I went to their green, just their open green, 3 times in 1 week for three totally different events. One was just like with my kid and we just did our own thing. Another one was for a movie night. Another one was for our farmer's market.
Which town?
Mashpee. So, you realize when you're in a situation like that, how much we're lacking here when you don't have that. So I see a great benefit to it, but it's, part of the reason why I wanted, to have Glenn give his 2 cents, for anybody watching at home who doesn't know Glenn, this is Glenn McLeod, he's one of our select board members, speaking on his own behalf tonight, though not as a select board member. He's very knowledgeable, he goes to all the meetings, he's done his homework, he met with me at a coffee shop, to talk about Marshall Park and other town stuff, back in the early spring. So when he raises the concerns on finances, that was what I needed to hear again, to sort of say, I do think my gut is probably correct in that, I don't know if we want to see her anywhere near annual town meeting. But I almost feel like November's too soon. I think that we're looking at a year out. And I think that's okay. Like, that's it. I think that's okay. But it's going to take, when myself and Colleen are done on this committee, it's going to take some work by the committee members to try to help find some people that can fill some of these empty seats coming in that are going to, I don't want to, stock a board with only people who agree with what we're trying to put forward, but people that are willing to do the work and support if the majority votes, yes on something. People that are willing to put in some of the legwork, because I think there's going to be some legwork that needs to be done. And that's not saying Anna and I are going anywhere. We'll certainly do our due diligence and, helping to move the project. But so that's my thought, is that November's too soon. I don't know if I want to touch annual town meeting in the spring. So I think we're looking at a year from now to bring it back to the taxpayers.
Yeah, I think it's, depending on what this subcommittee deal, kind of where that develops to and how quickly and what comes out of that, then, my opinion could evolve. I think just outside of finance or anything, it's just for me, it's just the optics of, you were just here.
Yep.
And now you're coming back and you're asking us to vote on this again. Kind of like it doesn't, if I wasn't on the park commission, it wouldn't settle well with me. I want this project more than anything. I think it's needed, very much so for the town. 300th anniversary of the town is coming up. We need open space. We need, areas where people can convene and gather and, just exercise and socialize. And, I think that is what's lacking here. But I also think if you come back to me in November as a citizen, I just voted against this kind of deal.
I see the logic of waiting, to Glenn's point, to your point. The voters do need to know what the impacts are of the different issues, financial issues that we're facing, and they're not going to feel comfortable voting to approve anything until they know what that means to them, to their family budget. So definitely not this November then.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to decide tonight whether it's going to be
No.
spring or special
Yeah.
town meeting 2026, but yeah.
I agree. Okay. And set the record straight, when we started this whole project, we were not, these financial issues were nowhere on any of our radars. So
Right.
we did not
Yeah.
start this big project in the middle of a financial situation. All right, perfect. So this gives us a starting point. So we'll get back to Tom and Ray, and Chris and I will get going and happily spend the rest of the money that we have here. If there's one bright spot in that, it'll be that. We'll update the commission as we move forward, and we will hold off on November, and we'll figure out the spring when we get to it.
Appreciate your thoughts, Glenn, too. Thank
Yeah,
you.
my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Mr. Coyozo.
Hi,
Buddy, you wanna
Howdy.
come up?
How are you?
how are you? Good to be back.
Good to be back.
Something for show and tell.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
Sorry.
It's a little smaller than I thought.
So it almost works with fingerboards. It's really close, it's just a little bit too small, but to give you guys a quick visual on the orientation, I'm 95% sure. There's the T-ball field, there's the existing parking lot, and it stretches like
So
this.
Mass Ave's down by you.
That's here. Okay.
See that? Or it's like this.
No, keep
No, it's like
going.
this, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So everything drains out
Yeah.
towards the D basin. Lots of plastic. Lots of plastic. So you
3D
can
printer?
almost make out the whale, right? We had trouble printing it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
and then we're talking about ways to integrate some advertising as well. So I'm here to update you guys on where we are with
Yes,
this.
please.
Pardon?
Yes, please.
And we have been waiting for a couple of key things that actually just came to fruition probably 3 or 4 days ago. So we're now engaged with a bonding agent who is looking at bonding the entire project. So we're gonna incorporate the builder's component, our in-kind component, all the services components, and wrap that all into a single bond
Oh.
to keep things simple.
Yeah.
Okay? Time-wise, we're still looking, breaking ground next spring. And we're still holding to a 90-day build.
Okay.
All right? So my question for you guys
Mhm.
is, considering your updated agenda or timeline, this obviously is rather site impacting, and we designed this to be built into the new Marshall Park.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember inches and feet and how things are impacted, but it's extremely traumatic with regards to the T-ball field. Not so much up here. The access road disappears.
Yep.
Right, so it's one way in, one way out. Obviously, the playground still disappears. What are you guys thinking?
So I have a question for you
Sure.
before I give you my answer on that. If we are not going in with our project, how does it affect, how does the drainage, the drainage that we're not putting in affect your project?
We're gonna have to address it.
Okay.
Someone's gotta do it. And this is like a phase 0 thing.
Okay. I guess
I'm
I'm,
Anthony Kaiser, nice to meet you.
I guess I'm just wondering, does that set, how much that sets you guys back?
That'd be a great question, who
Okay,
is
that's fine,
unfortunately wasn't able to be here.
that's fine.
I do remember though, some of the early discussions about the drainage, and obviously this alone does not require as much drainage work as the phase 1 was
Correct.
going to require. So hopefully, any additional cost is a pain, but hopefully.
But at the
it
same
won't
time, I don't think it'd be wise for us to go build in some drainage, and then you have to redo the drainage.
Well, I think, and that's why we wanted to make sure that Greg Roy had a chance to speak with the engineer at RDLA, the architect. And I never did hear back how that conversation went, because there was gonna be talk about how, timing and who does this and who does what.
I don't
did you
even
hear
know if
back?
I was aware of that conversation,
Okay.
and I can make a note and chat with
If you,
him.
yeah, that'd be good, because, that was, we specifically wanted to make sure there was communication between RDLA and Greg and you guys, to make sure that, everything was still up in the air at that point.
And I don't remember if it was RDO. I remember having a drainage conversation a while back.
Yeah, that would have
Well,
been with,
it was another outfit.
yeah, it was with, oh my gosh, why is his name?
Well,
Yeah.
It was Nick.
Nick.
from
Yes, it was
Meridian.
Nick. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah.
So we need to have that conversation again with a different outfit now?
no, Nick is the sub to RDLA.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, that conversation did happen.
Okay,
The output of it, I couldn't tell.
okay, because that's important, you know, in terms of, it will make a difference to what RDLA does, you know, depending on what you do, so.
and that will probably be one of the first questions I think Chris
Yeah,
and
that
I would
could-
probably end up asking him is, you know, on the skate park side of things and the drainage.
Okay.
Um,
Noted.
You are at 91% financially,
I think we're like 330-ish now.
and where do you want to, is your number, this was actually asked to me recently, is your number, that your target number of that 100%, is that with or without the in-kind donations?
That's with.
Okay.
That's with.
Um,
I think we're like the total nut right now is like 372. But yeah, it's
okay.
all in that neighborhood.
All right, any concerns that we need to know about, or we
No,
should
not
be?
yet. Our goal is to have a contract signed with the builder, figure by Labor Day. We've already negotiated 98% of the terms. The only thing outstanding was the bonding, and how it was gonna be structured.
So we will need to extend the agreement with them, because I think that was due to expire this
This
fall.
year, yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was October.
So we'll need to update that.
You guys are still amenable to that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is a great project, and you guys
It's
should all
gonna
be
key to
commended.
this whole
and-
thing.
Yeah,
Can we get something in there? I mean, I'm gonna just go over there and play pickleball on that thing at this point. It's gonna
Very,
be,
very
it's
small
going
square.
to
Just gonna have
be a
chalk.
multi-use,
draw a little.
Foursquare.
it's gonna be a
Well, that's a
multi-use
chalk.
skate park at this point.
Put a hoop on the whale's tail, you can play basketball.
There you go.
I will pull the,
Multi-use.
I will pull the motion from, our last motion granting them whatever, so that we can revise it at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece, it's a nice addition to the park.
I can-
Even as
I
it is
can
now,
touch-
and I
I can
think
touch
it's.
base with Greg Roy too, Anthony. I'll see him next week again, check it out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
That's us in a
I
nutshell.
know you, awesome, I appreciate it.
Good job.
Did you really just give a presentation in like 10 minutes flat?
Eight.
Sweet.
Give me an opening the park commission in a year.
I know lots of people will be interested. I appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
Anthony.
thank you. Have
Appreciate
a
it.
wonderful night.
Awesome,
You
awesome.
want to take a picture? It'll last longer.
Thanks for bringing the visual.
You're very welcome. Actually, this was actually done by an Air high school student
Oh,
as part of a 3D plastics printing CAD course.
I think you should bring it over there and
Just
put
turn
it
my phone
where the skate park's gonna go and take a picture of it. Like,
Perspective is everything. I'll get real close.
well, I mean, it could be the, you know, if you dream it, we'll build it situation, and, you know, we dreamed it, here's a small, and you take it, another picture again in a year or so, and.
Like the tape. Awesome. Have a
Awesome.
good night.
Great,
Questions?
thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Let me
good to
know.
see you.
Have a good
Take
one.
care. Bye-bye.
Right, that was easy. All right, capital planning. So I had called Chris Ruth last week. See if I can get my timeline right. The capital planning group meets usually starting November, December timeframe. Maybe before that, I could be wrong. My husband's on it. He'll probably yell at me when I get home because I got the dates wrong. But we present stuff to them. Chris Ruth works his magic and pulls some numbers together, and then it goes off to them. Right now, the stuff that we have on there is, I believe, and Chris Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still the McNally master plan of figuring out if we were doing anything over there. There was, I think the Northfield master plan is floating around on there. And,
The McNally one is on there. The Northfield one is just on there as a placeholder at the moment.
okay, and then do we have anything else on there? Is weeds still on there?
No, I mean we got the the initial 50 to work on the weeds, kind of pilot program wise. So until we get started, I wouldn't add anything to continue that yet.
But I thought there were two pieces to the weeds, and one of them went through and one of them didn't.
I
Not that
think
it matters. If there's stuff on there, we can, if this isn't gonna all be discussed tonight anyway, I mean, I think we need to think about it. But one of the things that Chris and I were talked about was, what are the other things, some of the basic things that need to go on this plan, that meet the capital planning, thresholds? Things like Fitzgerald needs to be resurfaced. It needs a whole new leveling. You know, and I said to Chris, would that meet the threshold? He thought it would, based on the amount of material that would be needed. There's things like that. I sort of started to think about a list today.
I was thinking Powell dugouts might be a decent one. My thought was, let's try and get some of the bigger maintenance items knocked off
Yeah,
that wouldn't be part of the Marshall project if it goes. And the Powell dugouts were never part of that. So that was, I wouldn't do a whole lot at Marshall, but that was one I would consider. All the fields could certainly use some real freshening up and that type of thing. And it's, at this point, it's all gonna be a decent chunk of change to do it.
yeah. Any of the fencing that, I don't know if we could, I don't know how many of our parks still need repairs to fencing. I don't know if that could meet our threshold. I don't disagree necessarily, Chris, about the dugouts over at Powell. My concern with stuff like that, though, is that they're very specific, single-use, small group, like that. Those structures, they're for a very
Small group of people.
small group of people, and I just don't, I mean, we can always ask for it and they can say no, but I can tell you that from where I stand, that's, not something that I wouldn't wanna see the dugouts at Powell over, resurfacing of Fitzgerald.
I agree with the order there for sure. I think step one is kind of identify everything and get them onto a list of what you guys would want. I can send some suggestions. Part of the reason I was thinking Powell Field is at one point there were some rumors from the Little League folks that they were willing to donate or help or do something there anyway.
Yep.
So maybe if there was an in-kind donation, that might bump it up on the list type of deal.
Okay. So I didn't, as I sort of made a list, we also have Veterans Park, Wallace Park, Northfield Park, and McNally. I personally don't think I have, I personally don't think we should touch Northfield or McNally at this point. I think we should just sit back and wait. I think Marshall is the priority, and I don't think we have the bandwidth as a commission to double dip in trying to create two master plans at the same time. So even if McNally or Northfield were approved as a capital project, I don't know if we, as a commission, have the bandwidth to take on two major projects like that. I could be wrong. You guys are welcome to convince me
No,
otherwise.
I totally agree with that statement.
So I think we should sit back and wait on that. I think Fitzgerald should be a priority at this point. I think that there's, and I think the thing with Fitzgerald, though, is it needs to be resurfaced, but I think we need to figure out something with, I don't know if the fencing can be changed or something, and maybe there's no way to change it, but there's a lot of snowmobiles that go through there in the winter. This year wasn't as bad, but last year I wouldn't want to resurface and then have the snowmobiles go through and rip up the lawn again, because they like to run through because the sun beats on that field, so the snow clears faster. Then they go over the field anyway in an attempt to get into the woods, and then it just chews it up. But I think resurfacing over there would be good. Over at Veterans, and I don't know if this would even hit the threshold, but I do think we need some cleanup over there. I think the walkway could probably use a good cleanup. The stones probably could use a good cleaning too.
Where was that?
Over at Veterans.
Veterans.
I think that's
I think veterans, the best way, Karen, sorry to cut you off, might be if the Parks Commission helps advocate for a little more in the regular operating budget,
Okay.
some of that stuff we could get done. As you know, I mean, we've already started our budgets, and sticking with my adding 10 grand a year to the parks. Hopefully, we can get that through. But if we have some other smaller projects in mind, it may be a way to help us get the
And
budget where we need it sooner.
I think we can even have a capital plan list of stuff that doesn't necessarily have to go through our capital planning process. It's just, we can have a list of to-do that doesn't have to go through the capital plan, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. If we estimate them out and they come in below 20, we'll just switch it to an operating budget line type of thing and request that money as we go.
Yeah, and I also think that having a list of stuff might be good for when, every now and again we get like a Boy Scout troop that reaches out that needs a project. Well, what can we give them? Like, what are some ideas that we have so we can run it by them and maybe they would choose one of those, and then it's cost effective to everybody all around. But can anybody think of anything, or I'd say think about it and maybe come back the next meeting if there's anything that you want to see on some sort of capital plan for any of our field
Well,
space.
Chris mentioned that he could send us all his list of ideas. I'd like to see that, and that will kind of get my brain going.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, I can get mine cleaned up because it's kind of chicken scratch at the moment, but I can get it cleaned up and sent over to the commission. The other one, Karen, that I didn't hear you mention was the left side of the beach there.
Oh, yes, yep,
Oh, yeah.
yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know what the answer is over there, but, the town manager had made a suggestion of, if you look over at Arrive, they've got a kayak rack.
Yep.
And she had suggested, making something like that and, renting a spot on the kayak rack for the season and, coming up with a way for people to get, grab a kayak and go out and
Yeah.
use the lake.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too, because it was my boss's, so.
Yeah, so we can add that to the, so if you wanna send out some of your ideas to the commission as a whole, Chris, and then maybe next meeting, if people could bring back anything they'd like to see added, or if they think, something should be vetoed, and then we can sort of we can prioritize our stuff, and then, we can let Chris run with whatever he has to do to get it over to the capital planning folks to make a decision.
Sounds good.
As far as Northfield goes, I totally understand and agree that we don't have the bandwidth to take on another big project, but I'd love, in some capacity, to start to understand what something like that's gonna cost. Cause that's just another, we're coming up on, how many years have we sat on that property
Number
and
of years.
we.
Do me a favor,
yeah.
write that down, because I bet we can hit our DLA with that question of, have you done any projects recently that were literally just a wooded area?
Clearing and
That
50
needs-
yards of fields.
Yep.
Like
And
with a,
let's see if we
with
can,
restrooms and a, portico,
Yeah.
it's so lacking in this town. You have perspective, I have perspective from soccer and so forth, like,
Well, yeah, 'cause
where you have to rely solely on the school fields.
Right.
We'll talk about fees shortly here and what we get charged, what various sports get charged to use school fields is absurd, for town residents, and, it's a lacking space. It's been,
Right.
when they first took that land, the vision was it was gonna be fields, and we're
Yeah.
8 years later, 10
Yeah,
years later,
yeah.
whatever it is now, and
Yeah.
it's still not fields.
Do we even have a survey of that plot yet?
I
Did
don't
that
know,
ever get
Chris.
done?
we must have something, and we would've had to have something to purchase
To
it, no?
purchase it, I think.
Because, they probably just did lot lines, but maybe it's worth investing a little bit of money into a survey, so at least we've got an understanding of what the land is, and,
The topography,
Can you-
wetlands, et cetera.
yeah,
I
because
just-
we could
just,
have an engineer look at it at that point and say, hey, you're looking at, a balanced site, or you need to import stuff, or that type of thing, at least have that understanding ready to go for when the next steps start.
Right.
I have no
right.
concept of what it would cost, and like if it's I don't know. My mind is just if Marshall's not a palatable project, and for some reason that's far more affordable and so forth, it's still adding a significant value. I don't know. I have no at this point, but I have no concept of what something like that would even. I also see it as a revenue stream.
Yep. Oh, I agree
is
with
the
that,
other
absolutely.
piece of that, like it's majority grass fields, but a couple of turf fields over there too, or something. I mean, it's a huge revenue stream for the town, for parks, for sure. It's, you know, the number of tournaments that happen for lacrosse, soccer, field hockey, camps.
And it's getting in
It's-
while the need is still there,
Yeah.
while the demand is there.
Yeah.
Because once they're in, if you offer them a fantastic facility, they're gonna wanna stay.
Right.
It's when, you know,
Yeah.
we just don't wanna get into a situation where every town around us is building these huge fields with the same intention. But
That's
no,
a
I
space
agree
that
with
just
you.
is a revenue stream for us, I think, and so that, in my
We
mind,
can ask,
continues to sort of keep that up the list a little bit.
yeah, let's ask Ray and Tom if they've know of any projects, 'cause if we can figure out, it's just hard, you know, when you look up a project, what did they start with? You know what I
Right.
mean, like, maybe they were on an abandoned landfill, or maybe they were,
Yeah,
the
it's already
building had just
cleared
been
or
raised,
whatever,
so,
yeah.
but maybe they can give us a starting direction of, like, this town just built X, Y, and Z, and then we can go and pull the information from that town, that should give us a better understanding of what it is. Yeah, the need is definitely there, and it's growing, which is a good thing,
Right.
so, okay. So Chris, you'll send out a list of some sort at some point in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'll get a list.
Okay, great, thank you, sir. All right, so that's that.
It
Uh,
appears that everyone froze.
oh, no, you're
We
still
can hear
with
you.
us. Can
We're
you-
just sitting really still.
Can you hear us, Chris?
No, no, we can't hear him. Or he can't hear us.
He can log off. Yes, yeah. All right, so, all right, park user fees. All right. Chris and I had a sit down with town manager, and that was one of the things that we had spoke about. It's something that I've brought up, a few times, that I think we just need to figure out what we're doing, if anything, because these programs need a heads up. So what I have done is, I asked Chris Ruth, let me just see what he will get that list out early next week. So what I did was I asked Chris Ruth to provide us with the costs of our current contract. That is what's on the back page of this packet. One thing he wants to make sure I point out to everybody is that currently the contract is for 17 mowings. We far exceed that. So our costs are higher. So every time they come and mow, the price is listed up at the top with the total mowing cost. Marshall Park, they do it as a whole, so it would be, you know, we'd have to do some rough numbers if we wanted to divide out the,
What do we do for mowing? Do we know what we do for mowings?
what do you mean, the number of mowings that we do?
Yeah, what are we, if we're far exceeding 17, like what is that number?
I have no idea.
Then I would if he can update this, obviously.
Well, so this is a copy of the contract, so this is what our
Okay.
contract is.
Or a related document that actually shows what our actual expenditure
He
is.
said, please keep in mind that the number of mowings at 17 is way low in reality.
Right.
So we can ask that.
So I'd
but I
love
mean, at
like a
least-
related file that shows
Yeah,
what do
we
we,
can ask that.
this is what our contract is, but this is what we're spending.
So what's the actual for mowing?
Yeah.
Which is fine, we could do that.
Or any of this, like,
But-
do we, you know, number of weedings, like, do we only
Are we
weed
under
five?
on some
Do we
things?
only weed 5 times, or are we, you know, do we weed more times, like, or, you know, like, I don't know, I guess those are the only things that include numbers, is just the mowings and the weedings, so. Just understanding what we're actually,
Sure. I think we're right on the money in terms of, I don't think they're doing less than 5 weedings.
yeah,
I know that they're over at Memorial Veterans, quite often. And I saw them out there recently. It's been a huge difference this year versus last year, which is nice. But here nor there, this is the sort of what I'm looking at as like the baseline of what it's costing us for maintenance. Chris has some printouts of what the school is now charging for the use of their fields. They're charging by the hour. And they raised their fees significantly this past year. We currently charge, our current rate, for a seasonal youth organization, is $20 for a resident, $30 for a non-resident. the youth baseball program this past spring had 148 participants is what they have listed on their sheet, so that of resident folks, they're saying there are no non-residents, for a total of $2,960. The youth baseball program reserved the fields from April 3rd through June 30th of this year, and they're saying 7 days a week. And they requested 5 fields. It's both fields at Fitzgerald, Marshall softball, Powell Field, and McNally. They don't put a time. There's no time down. So on this paper alone, which I think we probably need to make some updates and work with Angela, if somebody reached out to us and wanted to reserve field space between April 3rd and June 30th, we have nothing to give them because,
Because we don't know what's actually free.
correct. Probably one of the downfalls of having, all these dates and addresses need to be changed. I'm not sure we don't have an online system, I don't think, like the school does. I don't know what MyRec has, but the school, what does the school use for
ML schedule.
ML scheduler?
Just ML schedule.
So, so that's what they're at right now. So we'll say they paid almost, let's say they paid $3,000 for the spring season. I asked Angela for anything, if they used it in the summer or the fall, and she didn't give me anything, so I'm assuming the answer to that is no. So that's where we are at on that piece. And I'm not sure what the right or wrong answer is in terms of user fees, especially, will you show Anita the schools, especially when you compare it to the schools' user fees?
That first page is less applicable, it's like custodian fees and stuff like that, but the field use.
Whoa,
Yeah, that's hourly.
So this is what, the turf, let's do game fields. They're paying $15 an hour for the grass field and $35 an hour for
Is that the current, or did they increase?
That was, that's the current, and then this is the promote, this is what it's going down to.
okay.
Essentially move a column over, I think, for the most part, it's like,
So it's at least a 50% increase.
you went from 35, it's a 50% increase.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's hourly charge, that's not per person,
Right.
that's hourly.
So I
charge.
think that they can handle the hourly stuff probably better than we can in terms of charging hourly because of they're using that ML scheduler. So they're able to probably punch it in and see what they have for hours. I mean, I don't think we should ask anybody to be paying for hours they're not using. But I also don't want them reserving for hours that they're not
Exactly.
using either. Because this makes it seem like this is their fields and their fields only. And that's not, I don't think that's the right
It's
direction.
limiting the ability of other people to use it.
Right. So I think we need to figure that piece out. But I don't think charging hourly, I don't think it makes sense for them. That's what they do to Lunenburg Youth Soccer, right, Chris? The school pays an hourly rate, or do they play a flat?
No, I believe they.
So if they're
pay an
paying, I mean, how do you budget? I'm just thinking of these sports programs. How do you budget for something when you're,
That's to understand, I mean,
You don't know how
soccer,
many-
their bill is a significant bill.
it's huge. You don't know how many kids are coming in. Like baseball, their numbers fluctuate, right? But, so to say to them, it's easier for them to pay, I think it's probably easier for them to pay a per player amount than it is to pay a per hour amount. I could be wrong.
For perspective, for the summer league soccer program that present boys and girls high school Lunenburg soccer players are playing in, they're spending $1,050 to play on the turf 10 times. For an entire season, Little League is spending $2,000.
Right, $3,000, 29.
$3,000, sorry.
29, that's great, 29.60.
And that's not, I mean, that's just, and there's no mowing, there's no, anything, the turf is in terrible shape, I don't know where the money goes. It's that's a whole nother project that I think the school is trying to deal with is turf. Lunenburg Youth Soccer is in the tens of, I mean, it's over 10 grand, I believe.
I think
so
we pay 15 grand
It might
a
be
year.
15 grand, and half the time we have to cancel because the field's flood.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, you know, I mean, there's,
Yeah.
I look at it in my mind, like I read all like I mean, you and I had reached out to towns and so forth, and I reached out to, Groton had written me back, and Groton is actually dealing with this right now, and I did not get another response. I tried to reach out to the woman that wrote me back to see if they've had any further discussion, because she actually wrote, when she wrote me, she said Groton is actually in the middle of having this actual discussion, that they haven't had fees. But it's something that they're dealing with. They said some of the field maintenance is handled by DPW, like mowing. The parks has an expense and capital fund we use to make sure the fields are fertilized, grow treated, and so forth, so budgeted that way. It's up to the user groups to maintain the park to suit their needs, like lining the fields, other maintenance related to their specific sports. So they have, and Groton has a Northfield property.
Right,
like Cow
right.
Pond and
So do they,
forth,
so they don't charge for use of that field?
At present, it says they've been discussing user fees, and as of right now, there are no user fees issued to user groups.
Okay.
That's
Because-
Groton,
Because they're doing the maintenance right now.
because
The
those,
user groups are.
yeah, I think, so I assume that Groton Youth Soccer is lining the Cow Pond fields. They move the goals around, they do all that
Yeah.
kind of deal. Baseball must line whatever fields they do.
And
so
baseball
forth.
lines their fields here. We don't do
right.
any of that for them.
Clinton wrote, typically they charge per the hour. She attached an athletic fee rental paperwork that she had sent me. She said they currently, they don't charge schools or town youth sports, but they require that they require their schedules on an hourly basis to keep things uniform. This year they said they hosted Neshoba Regional High School baseball program at Fuller Field. And they were being charged a rate for the season to be determined by the board at their March meeting and so forth. As far as Groton went, I did look at their minutes and so forth to see if they had any updates. I didn't see anything. There was a note from their DPW director. It sounded like, I haven't gone to watch meetings and so forth, obviously, but it sounded like things got contentious. He's got like a letter that he wrote that there's been frustration about field use and trash being left and accessibility issues and so forth. And he kind of goes on to indicate budget issues and so forth that they're having. And so I think that's why it's a topic of discussion for,
Yeah.
for them.
And I know Townsend, they don't have user fees because they lease their fields out to the user groups. So Townsend Youth Soccer, for example, is responsible 100% for,
Those Taysa fields,
yep, for the maintenance, for everything at that location, grass. And if you go online and look at their state tax filings that where they, have to declare how much they've expended, their budget is substantial. And I just looked back on a message from the treasurer for soccer, and she said they pay between $13,000 and $14,000 a year. Now, that said, $13,000 to $14,000 a year, that's 2 seasons. It's not just one season,
Right.
like,
And that's 500, well, fall, I think they said last year was 500 kids.
yeah. So, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, they're still using, whether you have 500 kids out for LISA right now, right? Or you have, 168 kids out for baseball, they're still using the fields. Like years ago, baseball used to have enough that their major league and their minor league divisions were all in-house. Like there were like 6 other teams, you played those teams, and you didn't have to travel. Right now, in one of the emails that I saw this morning from TJ Laughlin from a while ago, he was estimating there were like 2 major league teams and 2 minor league teams, and like the numbers have dropped significantly, but we're still maintaining the same number of fields for those kids as we were back when those programs were bigger. So I'm not sure what the solution is. I know that town manager had mentioned maybe you charge a percentage of it. I don't know what you charge a percentage of. Like what number do you use? Because at the end of the day, some of this stuff we would be, if these fields weren't used for baseball, if these fields were just green space, we'd be maintaining them as green space, right? So there would be a cost there. So I don't think we're ever looking pass off 100% of the
No,
field
not at all.
cost to
Not at all.
the fields. I think we need to, if we adjust it, fine. If we don't, that's fine too. But I think we need to maybe fine tune some of our requesting policies on how they request it, so we know
Yes.
the hours that they're out there. I did request information back in January from the youth baseball program on how many teams they had per division, all this other stuff. Completely ignored, never got a response from them. So, you know, it's hard to even sometimes have some of these conversations when you don't have the input from the groups that, you know, so boldly want to speak out against Marshall Park project and whatnot, and then you ask for the information to help build a better, you know, field space for them without Marshall Park going forward, and you don't have that. So I'm not sure, you know, if we want to go back to them looking for information. I don't know if we, I mean, $20 isn't bad. I mean, if you did the math of the 500 kids from LISA, I think we're probably closer to that being, we're not far behind them, if you were to look at it that way, I don't think, right?
What's the? Come on, phone.
So you think there's 500 kids in the fall?
I had heard that was a number I had heard.
So
And
what
what
do
was
you
it,
think?
10? You said 10 uses per season?
Nope,
Oh, no, that's just
totally different.
summer league that I'm coaching for
Okay.
high school kids,
Um,
which is, I mean, that's a whole other.
the,
My league, the high school kids are charged to use the high school turf, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
So do you wanna say 1,000 kids?
But that's the fee over the whole, but yeah, it might be. I don't know, because you had even more, you had 2 high school teams in the spring.
So, I mean, that, if you take $13,000.
You might lose some kids to lacrosse, I suppose, in the fall, like you're not, you know,
Yeah, maybe
you're probably
that-
losing more kids in the
let's say
spring to
up-
lacrosse than
Let's
you're
say 800
losing
kids.
in the fall to football, I would suspect. I don't know for
800
sure,
kids
but-
at $13,000 a year is $1625. So our numbers aren't, they're not far off. But I also look at it too, they don't have the same overhead per se that we have in terms of, you know, they have an athletic director that handles the scheduling of all this stuff. That's full-time, and that's their sole job. We don't necessarily have that, and if we're trying to make our person, if we're trying to get her to full-time, I know the town manager's gonna look at us and be like, well, how are you gonna pay for this, you know? And I don't want baseball to pay for the whole thing,
No.
certainly. But if we need to adjust to cover some of that. I'm also not sure, this was, you know, and again, where I don't have any of the information from baseball, they registered 168 players, okay? I'm sorry, 148 players for this year. It was 100 and, it was 100, where that paper, I just had it, I don't know where I put it. I think it was 168, last year. And they're saying last year I know for a fact it included T-ball numbers. This year the paperwork is saying it's for ages 4 to 16 years old. So I don't know if they included T-ball on this number again, but if it is, we shouldn't be collecting for T-ball because they're not using our field. So, you know, I don't know how accurate that 148 is, number-wise. But I don't think it makes sense for us to jump to an hourly. I don't think we have the scheduling system right now.
No, we don't have a scheduling system to,
No.
I
for
want to
sure.
create the picture, just devil's advocate of equitable playing field for all youth sports. And it's not, I mean, like, youth, I mean, it's totally different, like youth basketball, it's only, you know, $6, or, you know, $6, or it's gonna be $9, it's, you know, $9.
But then what do they charge for custodians?
Then they get they probably have a custodian fees 36 an hour, or 39 an hour maybe.
And the,
But I don't know that that would be on game days. But practices, the custodians already have.
okay,
So I would suspect, I don't know that, but I would suspect that
that's crazy.
when I was coaching basketball for
Yeah.
my son's team, 9 o'clock, the custodian came in and he'd flick the light on you at Turkey Hill. say, all right, time to, time to go, because he's trying to finish up his
Yeah,
night.
right.
But he's still working in the custodians are still in the school at that
And
point.
they don't
But
use,
Sundays, they're not. So like when basketball games are happening on Saturday and Sunday at the high school, I would
It's
suspect that Lunenburg Youth Junior Basketball has a
Pays for that.
custodial fee
Yeah.
I'm
associated with that.
assuming that fee for the turf includes any custodian needs that might be there, like cleanup if, like, I don't know if there's any needs there.
We open and close the bathroom.
But
ourselves.
they come in and clean it?
We make sure it's clean. I mean, it's barely used.
Okay.
It's not like the summer league soccer isn't like everyone's coming to watch a soccer game. It's literally two teams that come together in a field.
Yeah.
There's 20 spectators, and we open a bathroom because the team's coming from 40 minutes away, and they might use the restroom. And we make sure the bathroom is kind of picked up when it's done. And we're not open the snack shack. We're not open anything like that.
I think the first thing we need to do is improve our forms to make sure that we're getting accurate
Yes.
information.
Yes.
So that's step number one.
Yeah.
And then, once we get that more accurate information, then we'll have more of what we need to make any decisions about changes.
So to update these forms, we're not gonna get them until the next form that, if we update them before the spring, they'll come in the spring. So that will be the next round of information unless the user groups decide to
'Cause
voluntarily give
fall's
us
already booked.
information.
Right?
I don't think that anybody's using them, but I'm not sure.
Is there no fall baseball?
I
this
don't think so, but I had asked Angela that and I didn't get any paperwork, so I'm assuming that there is no fall, or they haven't submitted it yet, but I can double check. Which is fine, I don't have an issue, to be clear, I don't have an issue with $20 an hour. $20 per player. I think that's a somewhat reasonable rate. But I think that as we're moving forward and we have a whole list of things, and sort of thinking ahead to what some of the responses of at least one capital planning member is going to be, when we throw something on there that might be improve the dugouts at Powell Fields, and the response is gonna be, well, what are you collecting for user fees? And is that reasonable? And what does it cost you to maintain it? Because if you look at the cost of mowing at 29, let's use McNally for example, because very few, in my opinion, very few people use McNally. I mean, if the fences were down and it was just big open green space, we'd probably have more usage there. But the youth baseball fee is barely covering the cost of mowing. Where
Just that one field.
for just that one field. So, again, I don't want anybody to pay 100% of it. But maybe we should be, maybe it's $22 an hour. It makes it seem like we're putting our best foot forward to, adjust the prices as we go. Or maybe there just needs to be something that says every year, if, our taxes go up by 2.5% every year, maybe our rates need to go up by 2.5% every year, and then never have this discussion ever again until a new field is done. Because these are discussions I hate having, because it's like, everybody will say, well, what do we get for $1? We pay our taxes, it should go to this. Yes, you pay your taxes, but it's a private user group that's coming in and using the field, which means nobody else can go out there during those times and use the field. If we weren't maintaining something as a baseball field, maybe it could be a dog park, maybe it could be a grass rectangular field, maybe it could be something else that would get more use, because right now they're only using it for those 3 seasons of the year, and there's 6 other months of the year that it's not covered in snow. So,
More lately.
well, we're covered in water, I mean,
No, they're wet though, yeah.
everything's wet,
Yeah.
everything's wet, so.
Yeah, I think it's important to capture when they're actually used. And then we're holding that schedule and making it clear that things are open outside of that.
So what if we did this? What if I offered to sit with Angela one day, we'll try to redo the forms, capture more information, and I'm comfortable, what I will never do to a user group, this is why it was on this discussion for now, so that if we wanted to carry it forward, and if we wanted to make any changes, we could do it, have a discussion tonight, bring it forward, and pass it either next month or even in September. I will never blindside a user group with a last minute increase to their user fees. I think that's unfair. I think these programs open, they do a lot of work on their own when it's not season time to get everything up and running. So I would never want to say to them in January, we're cranking your user fees after they've already started enrollment. I think they need to plan too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm fine leaving it the way it is and working on the forms, because if we didn't have these conversations, we wouldn't be talking about the forms. So I'm fine going back to Angela and asking for this. So let me see if I can work with Angela to update these forms. I mean, we still have it.
These are a couple samples too, if you want, if they're helpful.
Thank
Those are
you.
the ones from Groton, and then Clinton's is a little more basic, so it's probably not as helpful, but Groton's is,
Okay.
captures some good information, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So let me work with her and see if we can get that and then bring it back. And if you guys look at it and are like, this is the information that we need to form a better decision, then let's do that. And at least now we know, everybody's in the know of what it's costing us to maintain each of our locations. This is, I'll call it the minimum. This would be what I'd call the baseline.
I'm curious if MyRec can support any,
I will ask her that too.
like, what's nice about ML schedule is there's just a calendar page and you can see, like, clear picture, like month of July, what's
Yeah.
booked, and it's just listed there, that, there's a French River Summer Soccer game on Wednesday, Wednesday the 17th,
Right,
from
from this time to this time.
5:30 to 7:30 it's booked.
Yeah.
Can anybody see that? Or do you have to be a logged in user?
You might have to be logged in, actually.
Well, that's fine.
I don't know, actually, it's a good question. I've only looked at it logged in.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's gonna take a little bit to get these forms together, and obviously the user groups did not have these new forms to start, sending in the requests that we're getting now. But they must keep pretty accurate records in terms of, how many games they've held, and roughly from this time to this time.
Right.
They got that information. Is it possible to reach out to them post-season and get that information
Sure,
from
I
them
can
so
ask
that
them,
we
yeah.
can then get a better idea of what we're looking at potentially for future? And then, that will at least start to inform us as we're thinking over through the, through the winter in terms of possible changes to fees, et cetera.
So essentially we'd be looking, I'm happy to reach out to TJ or whoever, I can.
That's fine, you wanna
I'll
try?
send them a note.
Sure.
If you're not getting a response, then.
Well, the one I sent in January didn't get a response, and
So what we're looking for essentially is, can we get a breakdown by field?
I can send you what I sent him. I'll forward it to you.
Like, we're essentially looking for a breakdown by field.
Yeah, for-
But
for number of
what's
uses, times,
daily use. Like, we're not, I think there's a consensus, we're not talking about an hourly user fee.
No,
So, but I think it's,
understand how many hours.
but we'd like to
they're
have an
using.
understanding of how many hours they're
yeah.
using it. So on a daily basis, Monday through Sunday,
If we're trying to have efficient
What's
use
your-
of space, we need to know
yeah.
when the field is actually being used.
So just daily use hours, Monday through Sunday.
He's gotta know, because they have information they send out to the teams.
Yeah. And what's interesting, some of these, the school fees and so forth too, what's kind of, interesting is they have different fees based on games versus practices as well.
Which is interesting, because what is the need for that?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
That just seems-
Except more attendance during games.
But they're not impacting the grass field. You know what I mean, like,
True.
a fan shows up on a Saturday morning to watch a soccer game, they're sitting in the bleachers and not, there's no impact to it, there's no different impact
Would
to
games
the-
be longer?
Well, if they charge an,
No, actually, games are actually shorter.
yeah,
Yeah, because we would practice for an hour and a half. But a game for, like a 3-4 soccer team, grade 3-4 soccer team has a practice twice a week for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Their game is
an hour,
an hour.
10 minutes, something like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Games are
how they
scheduled
do it.
every hour and a half throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
For every age group, they're scheduled, on a Saturday, they're scheduled starting at 9 a.m. It's
Yeah.
9, 10:30, noon,
Yeah,
1:30, 3, and 4:30.
Yeah.
But they do charge a different rate on Saturday versus you
It's
know.
interesting how they.
Saturday or
they did
Sunday.
that. I'm not interested in nitpicking in that level though, you know, it's like.
No, I just,
like,
you know, it's a bigger, I just.
Simplify,
'cause
I
I'm
mean,
in
that's
the-
when it's, I don't know,
I'm in the thick of it now, so I'm,
yeah, and that's
you
when
know,
you're
it's
sitting
just-
there going, what the heck, yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so we'll get some, I'll work on the forms with Angela, we'll get some additional information. And see where it goes, if anywhere, and if it goes nowhere, that's perfectly fine. I don't remember who, Open Space is Colleen, I think she's not here, I have no updates. I can say that we did have some correspondence, we've had a couple of things. One, I'll just give you where I am at it, so I guess this would be considered a chair update. We had a concern come in from a resident on dogs on McNally Field. They had approached the resident and, you know, told them that it was no dogs allowed inside the fenced area on the grass. They could have cared less, or they couldn't have cared less. And said some not so kind things.
And we have signage up
We
still?
do have some signage up, we do have a policy.
Yeah.
He highlighted our policy, which is our policy, and you know, I had said that. I reached out to town manager because in there it says, you know, they can be fined. Well, the question is, okay, who's enforcing this? And I don't remember it that policy was created during my time. And I even called Dave Passios to say, do you remember this? And he said, yeah, we had town council help us draft this, so town council had read it. I guess we just never caught on to who is supposed to enforce this.
Wouldn't it be the police? Wouldn't they
No,
issue the
because
citations?
it's a non-criminal, the
Yeah,
town
there was a-
manager
yeah.
explained it to me, it had something
Okay.
to do with not being non-criminal. So it could be something, that, I think she said, you know, we could delegate somebody on the commission, we could delegate somebody, an employee within the town, you know, something like that. So that has not been sorted out yet. I did get back to the gentleman and let him know that, you know, we were waiting for something from our legal folks. I have now sent a message twice to town manager asking if town council ever got back to her, and I haven't received anything. But in fairness, last week when I sent it, she was on vacation, so it could have just gotten lost in the shuffle. But I did see that Adam Costa has office hours next week, so I will, or not next week, next month. I can see about getting on that. And then another one had come in about God, what's it called? The Mass.
You talking about the Moore site inclusion thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, I wrote that down, to see if that
Do
was
you-
something we needed to,
yeah. Do you remember what the group is called? It's the
It's
Montechusett.
Massachusetts, hold on.
MRPC?
Yeah, there you go.
Or CMRPC, Central?
No, MRPC. I can't-
And they're
Moore
They
site
just wanna,
inclusion.
they
they're
just wanna.
documenting our
yeah,
parks
yeah.
so that because they feel that-
Massachusetts Office of Outdoor Recreation.
Okay. They
MDR.
feel that our parks are worthy of public notice. And they're doing a survey and
Take
including
pictures.
details of all the parks within the,
Oh, it's the MRPC
Their community area.
Yeah,
staff.
MRPC and MDOR. Outdoor recreation,
Montechusett
resource
Regional Planning
inventory
Commission.
to support the development of a new statewide website modeled after the Berkshire project. Our sites, Brian McNally Park, Ben Norman Park, which is Fitzgerald Field, Lunenburg Town Beach, Marshall Park and Pond, and Wallace Park were identified as valuable outdoor recreational resources within the Montechusett region. So they wanted to come over and take pictures, which I don't, did everybody get this email? It's
Yeah.
possible. I told them that's fine, I would run it by everybody, but I didn't see any concerns.
yeah.
I
No,
don't
it's
think
to our
anybody-
advantage to have
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
facilities listed, because if and when we ever go for future grants, to have our
Yeah.
parks be
We're there.
included on that listing, it shows valid use and need.
Yep, yep, absolutely. So nobody has an issue with that, so.
No, not at all.
Okay. Minutes, we have, did anybody see the minutes that were in the folder? Let me tell you, our minutes taker is fantastic, the new person that we have hired.
I love the format he's using.
So I'm wondering if that came from the town. I'm wondering if like they sort of gave like a template, but he sent it over to me And the only thing I changed, and this is more a personal peeve of mine, I don't go by Miss Menard, Mrs. Menard. I just don't go by any of that. So when I read something like that and it has me listed as Miss Menard a million times over, I'm like, I don't, like, just change it to K Menard. Like, years ago, we used to just use our first names.
Is that what it says though?
I changed it.
Oh, you changed
I
it.
did. I said, my only
I was like,
request
wait
is
a second, it all says
this.
Cecil
No,
and,
I said, my only request
like
is
that.
this, but I will take care of changing it since I didn't tell you that beforehand. So I was psyched. So there's 3 sets of minutes.
Were there
I think
4?
there's
Four.
4
Wasn't
sets
it?
of minutes.
Yeah, I read through them and they're fine,
four.
except my name is spelled wrong in some areas on each one.
On every one, wow, I'm sorry, I'm terrible. Because 3 of them would be me. Does anybody else have any changes other than Anita's name?
The only thing I saw was, it made a comment that I said floor, not flood, but it would be flood.
On which, do you know what?
June
site?
4th, page 5.
June
It was a
4th.
discussion to the fields, that the fields still flood, not floor. But otherwise,
let me
everything
make
looked
a note of
fine by
this.
me.
Because we can approve them with those amendments,
Mhm.
and.
That's not a grave.
That's not where I want to
deal, I
put
think
this.
So
understand that.
if we list the dates of the different minutes,
Yep, so hold on a second, June 4th, change Chris's comment from floor to flood
On page 5, if that's helpful.
on page 5, and correct Anita's name.
EI.
E-I, E-I-E-I-O, okay, E-I. That 3 of them would be me, I don't know how I keep messing those up, so my apologies.
Not a problem.
Well, it is a problem, because I don't like when people spell my name wrong. All right, so I'll make those
Or
changes,
call you Miss
so.
Menard.
It's a personal preference thing, because like even kids don't call me
Yeah,
Mrs.
my kids
Menard.
do that this
Like,
summer at Rogers Rock.
yeah, every kid that shows
Say
up,
hi, Mrs. Menard.
I'm like, that is not my name. So some kids are used to it by now. It is what it is. All right, so I have 4 sets of minutes. We have March 26th, April 26th, April 9th, and June 4th.
I move to approve the minutes with the edits mentioned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect, I'll get those out, I'll get those changes made. Perfect. Our next meeting is actually scheduled fairly soon. Is there anything that, do we even need to have this next meeting? I'm just throwing it out there, that if it's the 20th of August, I'm not sure we have anything.
We're
We
not
can-
likely to have new forms
No.
by then,
No,
unless something comes up with RDLA or Tom.
which I can't imagine it's going to, because we will have, probably meet with them one time and get the ball re-rolling.
Okay, all right.
Do you want me, why don't
Should
we?
we put it in reserve in case? And then we,
Why don't we
And then we'll
keep it
just
on?
cancel
And
if
then cancel if
nothing.
we need it.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, that works
so
for
it's
me.
tentative, okay.
Tentative, August 20th. I have nothing else. Any other public or board comments?
I am good.
And I will take a motion to adjourn at 8:32.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. We are adjourned. Thanks, Liz.